People that can speak two languages or multiple languages in general always fascinate me. So I've studied Spanish in school, and I took a lot of classes, and I learned quite a lot. Right, I could hold conversations. However, whenever I did, I would have to first I would hear the word in Spanish, and then in my mind I would translate it to English. Then I would take whatever English response I would have, and then translate it to Spanish. Right, so it was a whole process for me. You speak 4 languages at least, right? What's the process like for you? Is it just simple? So as you and I are talking in English now, is it just you hear the English, you respond in English, or do you have a similar process?
I saw a joke. The guy was a comedian. He was like, amarillo is equal to yellow, right? So you don't translate. I think if that's the way that you process language, you're not learning that language correctly.
Right. Ultimately, I didn't.
Yeah, it's gonna take time. People might ask, oh, how incredible you are. You're so hardworking. You speak 4 languages. How did you do it? I'll tell you the strategy. It's called no choice. From 2 years to 6 years old, I stayed with my grandpa and grandma in Beijing, and they spoke Chinese. And obviously, I spoke Chinese. When I came back to Urumqi, my dad was so pissed that I speak Chinese and don't speak Uyghur. He was like, our house, it's forbidden to speak Chinese. You need to speak Uyghur. So, yeah, and we have this tension, natural tension when I was a kid with my dad. So I had to speak Uyghur and forget a little bit Chinese. 3rd grade in China, it's mandatory for Uyghur to speak Chinese. So I have to learn Chinese again. And then I escaped from, East Turkestan. I went to Turkey. You need to survive, right? You need to speak the local language. So I had to learn Turkish, come to United States. I mean, out of no choice, I have to speak English. You remember my teacher, Tom Bello, told me that more English, more money. I mean, obviously my biggest concern in my life was paying my rent on time. So I needed money. So I had to speak English. So I had to learn.
Right. It was out of necessity that really made your brain kind of kick in.
Yeah, but I think one of the greatest thing of speaking multiple languages, I think it's like a different CPU. It's a different way of processing information. Chinese processes information in a different way. Turkish processing. That's why Turkish people think like a Turk. Chinese people think like Chinese, and American English, they think this way. So the language really shapes the way of thinking. So now if you speak 4 languages, you would understand 4 way of thinking. So I would say it's not less than having 4 brains. So it's good for me. I love it. I wish my kids can speak more language like this. So there's no force, there's no motivation for them to learn something new. So I think in the future, maybe send them to a different country, make them to live there. Maybe that's the way for making them learn language. But yeah, I do think speaking more language helps in life.
Absolutely. We were just speaking about essentially naturalized talk, or how to speak English naturally, right? I've heard that many people whose English is a second language for them, the way they learned was watching Friends or Seinfeld or any of these, or soap operas, right? Were there any cultural elements that you used to try to help you figure out how to develop your speech pattern to be more natural?
In Turkey, I was a kid, so there were no concern for rent. So I was watching this famous, show called Kurtlar Vadisi. So everybody knows that in Turkey. So obviously it's a very bad place to learn Turkish, but I grabbed some Turkish from there. But in the United States, I had to work in the restaurants, things like that, just so that's the way I've learned. But not through higher education, obviously. I just learn at work because I need to survive, I need to pay rent.
Absolutely. So in line with having to now learn a whole nother new language, right? New country, new language. What are some of the other biggest cultural challenges that you faced when you first came here?
So when people have this understanding of, if you come to a country as an immigrant, especially like the United States, you're starting from zero. I mean, if your dad give you a tiny loan of $1 million, I got it. You start from zero, right, in the United States. But when you are a refugee coming to the United States, don't understand the culture, don't understand the language, you have nothing, right? That means that you're not starting from zero. You're starting from minus 300, right? So it's difficult. In one angle, you have to learn the language. Another angle, you have to learn how the business world works and how the world works in that way. In the beginning, I really struggled in eating food because I thought, obviously, came from very conservative background of Muslims. I felt like everything was haram. But later on, I found out it's not, right? So casually, I would not eat chocolate, for example.
Wow.
I thought there was some pork in it, right? So it's crazy. Anyway, so it was difficult in that sense. But later on, as I got used to it, started learning more, it became easier and easier. to integrate myself to the society. Now I don't feel less American than anyone else. I love America. I am American.
Or a
American.
notion of refugees. Yeah. So you referenced earlier working in a restaurant, right? Previously how you did, but now in the United States. What are some of the early odd jobs that you had, and what was your favorite, and which one did you like the least?
Very good question. What is my favorite? I don't think I have any odd jobs favorite, but very good way to ask that. In the beginning, when we came to US, like I told you, Sonia Stafko, she was my caseworker. She was like, she issued like some sort of like EBT, things like food stamp like that. My problem is, not my problem, maybe it's my strength as well. I felt like taking taxpayers' money from food stamp and EBT. I'm not a disabled person. I just knew. I'm just new. And eating paid taxpayers' money, I felt like I'm a parasite. Because imagine, obviously, I can't speak for all the EBT people. I'm speaking for myself. So don't take it on yourself. This is me.
Just how you feel.
How I felt, right? So people work in the United States. They work 40 hours, 60 hours a week. And obviously they pay tax, state income, federal income tax, whatever. They pay the tax. And that goes to the government. And government is taking portion of that money to government welfare, which is like food stamp, EBT, things like that. My free money that I get from the government came from somebody else's hard work, right? How does it make you feel if you're a person with dignity, right? I'm talking about myself. I felt like I was a parasite. I don't want to be a parasite. Mm-hmm. I was like so overwhelmed that I was like eating free money of other people. So I said, I need to work. And I talked to my wife. She's like, I support you. You need to work, right? Many people told me, Kuzzat, don't work. If you work, they're going to cut the benefit.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? So I got this kind of advices. One day, in the morning, I was living in Centerville, 14614 Croton Drive, whatever. That was the address in Centerville. I told my wife, today I want to find a job. You know how this movie, you see that, the wife supports husband, sure that your shirt is okay. Like literally like that.
Yeah.
So she was fixing my t-shirts, things like that. She said, go, you're going to find a job. And I was so committed that day. I don't know why Boston in Arlington, not Fairfax, not other places, the random stupidness. Anyway, so I took the bus. I went to Boston Station in Arlington. I'm not sure that mall still exists. There was a mall called Boston Mall or something. Mm-hmm. Do you know that place?
I don't think it's there anymore, but I think I understand what
you're saying. Really?
Yeah, I may be wrong. We'll have to fact check afterwards.
They didn't hire me. So the way of I'm applying for a job was so dumb, but very straightforward, right? So you just walk into the store. Are you guys hiring? They're like, what the hell? Who's like this random guy? Like everybody's like, no. So I was just walking into random stores. Are you guys hiring? Are you guys hiring? Like that was probably the only English that I know at that time. Mm-hmm. So everybody's like, no. I was like, man, you need connection to find a job. You need connection to find a job. So, and then I was just like, okay, maybe I'm not going to find a job today. So I was walking. It was Glebe Road, something in Arlington. And I was just walking outside. I see this cafe, Amity. And I was like, maybe should I try or not? I was like, what am I going to lose, man? Let's take a shot. I get rejected already from this 100 place. So I walked in and the guy was in the cashier. I was like, are you guys hiring? He looked at me, said, no. And he had a board behind him, where they write the daily menu. Mm-hmm. And it says lentil soup. Who eats lentil soup?
No.
Turks.
Ooh.
Mercimek çorbası. I was like, maybe this guy's Turk, Türkçe biliyor musun? I said, do you speak Turkish? He's like, do you speak Turkish? Yeah, I speak Turkish. He's like, uncle, this guy speaks Turkish. He's looking for a job. And this uncle comes back from the big guy. He comes back from the kitchen. He's like, where from? I was like, from East Turkestan, So see, when you say East Turkestan, when you say you're Uyghur, you immediately you get like empathy and support of these people, right? So it's like
I understand. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was he said, do you speak English? I was like, my English is not good, but I am learning.
Right.
And he said, when can you start? I looked at him, I was like, now? Now? So I was like, okay, come with me. Well, I mean, I didn't even say how much he's going to pay. I didn't care, right? So I just want to find a job. And I went to the back of the kitchen. He gave me this black, is that called apron?
Yes. Yeah.
He gave me the rat apron. I have one of the picture that I have rat apron. He gave me the apron and he showed me this like piled up dishes. And he said, you have to wash this. So I started washing the dishes, and meanwhile, I just pulled out my phone. It was a Nokia something. It was like with the buttons. I was texting my wife. I found a job.
Yeah.
I was so happy, and that was my first job, dishwashing job. And later on, I found out he has a halal grocery store in Fairfax. He said, you know, I have another place. You want to work there? And I think he was making more money in their store. So I was like, yeah, of course. So I went there. You know, I was mopping the floor, doing the cleaning. Every 2 weeks, they will have the truck loads of things will come, groceries. So I have to unload them. It's like very hard physical work. And then open the packages, put it on the, you know, stack it on the shelves, learning inventories, you know, entering the things and giving the barcodes. The guy was paying me maybe $8, $7. It's not like he's paying me less. That was the norm at that time, right? So. And somebody told me, if you learn how to cut meat, you can earn $12. I was like, $12? $4 more than what I'm gonna make? Damn!
50% more.
I'm going to freaking learn cutting meats. So I start cutting meats. Like some of my things, it helps in life. Now with my kids, it helps. You know, sometimes I'm making this barbecues. You know, every skill is needed. So I learned cutting meats. And the thing is, in those grocery stores, it's not like they don't want to pay. It's just like the cost structure. They can't pay you that much. And one day, the guy told me that, hey, you know, there's a good insurance if you work for Harris Teeter as a market. So because I didn't have insurance, insurance was one of the things. Since we started working, they cut the Medicaid. My second child was born with some sort of like asthma kind of thing. So I was like, oh, insurance, great. So I applied for Harris Teeter. They said, the guy, I don't know. See, I don't think Harris Teeter is really required to that, but this random manager, a store manager, he's like, do you have college degree?
College degree.
I felt so, I don't know how, it's just like, you know, you feel you're down. You're like, you're, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's feeling of you're not good enough.
Right.
And I said no, and I just left. So that had really psychological impact on me. Every time I was just like, it will hurt my self-esteem. I look up to people who's working in studying college. Obviously, I have a friend that was studying in George Mason. He was my colleague in the grocery store. He was studying in George Mason. I was like, George Mason? Wow. What kind of people studying there? Right? Remember, my aunt told me that she was going to send me
straight to Harvard. Yeah.
Like, screw Harvard. I wouldn't able to go to Nova, Northern Virginia Community College, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and then I found a job in a restaurant because I heard that they would pay good, like tips. So I worked in a restaurant called Marrakesh. It's a crazy restaurant. With the belly dancing, this crazy stuff. It was like couscous, Bastilla, like all this craziness. And I worked there. They asked us to wear the traditional dress. I don't think it's a Moroccan or Marrakesh dress. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but it's just like Middle Eastern kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was our uniform. A couple times, interesting, right? You wouldn't feel that the men's will be harassed. I was harassed by the customers. They were like literally hugging me. I wouldn't let go at some point, right? Want to take picture with me. Huh. I was like, last time I felt like, you know, it was in the zoo that people want to take pictures.
You're like gorillas. A mascot. Yeah.
So, you know, people want to take picture with gorilla. I felt so like, oh, you know, at that time I was like, okay, if you're poor, that's how people would F with your life, right? You're like a gorilla in a zoo. People want to take picture with you. So I was like very disrespectful. At the same time, it was like this harassment situation was like interesting. It's not like I got so hurt, like just like ladies hugging you, it's not a big deal for a man, right? So I just like get over it, you know. It's not like I was in a deep trauma. Sure. Anyway, so I worked in the restaurant. In the restaurant, I think my English was really improved as well because you have to talk to customers. And then I worked for car sales, and I worked for package delivery for Amazon as a package delivery driver. I used my own car with a contractor firm. And I would say one of the most important odd job that I did was not odd job, the jobs that I did before IT was car sales, because you learn sales. Yeah. It's one of the most important skill set in life that one need to learn how to sell, whether you're selling product and services, even idea, even dream. I mean, you look at Barack Obama, right? He was selling, yes, we can. It's an idea. It's a new way of life. Who was the guy who took us to the moon? President Reagan?
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, right? He was selling the idea of putting the man in the moon. So in car sales, I was the worst car salesman. Everybody hated me. But I've learned sales itself. The reason I couldn't sell is because used car, you know the stereotype about the car salespeople selling used car? It's true. This is the greatest thing in the world. And trying to convince someone to pay $20,000. Of course, I'm not going to be able to do it because I think the reason is probably I didn't believe what I was selling.
Yeah.
But the fundamental of sales that I've learned from the car sales, which is very important, I think if anyone has a chance, should go to obviously, companies like Carvana or Tesla is changing the dynamics of sales these days. Like CarMax, you don't have salespeople anymore. But if there's a sales job, I recommend anyone to learn and go intern, work for free. But the thing is, it is like salespeople make more than PhDs. I'm sorry if I'm telling you. Okay, you need to learn how to sell. So that's the least favorite but most impactful job that I worked on, the car sales. And then the most difficult job was Amazon, the package delivery, because I have the delivered package. Every day I have to do 100 or 200 stops with the package. They paid me $1 per package. I have to pay my gas, my own maintenance, my own insurance. I don't know, like, how did I make money? But it was a stupid way to do business, but I just need the cash to pay rent. So one of the most difficult thing is sometimes you go to this Leesburg area, big mansions, big houses, and you're chased by big dogs, like, I'm not a dog person. The most difficult part of the delivery job is the restaurant part, because you're in the residential area, there's no gas station, things like that.
Right.
So you can't pee.
Right.
So I carried bottle in my car.
Huh. Yeah. Just to be able to make the deliveries on time and because you kind of stop. Yeah.
Sometimes I have to look for a parking lot that is far away. So I have to park the car. Yeah. I was so scared that they're going to call the police. Right. Yeah. It's like, it's very awkward position in the car. I have to see pee in a bottle. Yeah. And sometimes I forget a bottle in the car. Oh, no. Yeah.
But you did what you had to do, right?
Hey,
in that.
I don't feel shame. Yeah. So, you know what happened with these jobs, right? One thing people ask me, what do you learn from these things? It's about the attitude, man. Here's the thing. When my boss in Amity, in the grocery store, when he paid me $8 an hour, I think I worked as if he was paying me $80 an hour. Yeah. It's not about him. He doesn't have to see your value. It's okay. But this market economy is interesting. If you put lots of value, someone will identify you. Someone will be one day willing to pay you $80 an hour. So my thing was, how do I put 10 times more effort, 10 times more result for the people paying me? If you pay me $10, I want to put $100 result. So this was my general attitude. Or, imagine what people do. They protest. They have these things like, my manager doesn't like me, so I'm not going to do my job. I'm going to do minimum. Your manager is not your God. You're not going to work for him for the rest of your life. Shame on you if you do that, right? Yeah. But the thing is, when you do the right thing, when somebody pays you $10 an hour and you work as hard as if you're getting $100 an hour, someday, I promise you, you're going to make $100 an hour. But the thing is this, you have to repeat the cycle. When you start making $100 an hour, as if this guy is paying you $1,000 per hour. That's why one of my goal in our business is people paying us this much money, $10, for example, $10, $1,000. We have to serve them as much as we could, as if they're paying us 10 times more. Over time, this mentality pays off.